Welcome to the Get Your Right On podcast, a podcast for aspiring authors who are ready to publish their books.
Oh yeah.
Each week, we interview authors, learning about their publishing journey, and giving you tips to get your books published the right way. Now, here's your host, Shante Williams.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to season 3 of Get Your Right On podcast. I am so excited to kick off this third season, you guys. We have been in for 3 rounds. Woo woo. I'm always excited to meet new authors, learn about their journey, learn about them. So tonight, you guys, we have a treat. We have a brand new author with us. Hanging out with us for season 3 to kick off episode 1. But before I go, this episode is sponsored by Perry Jr.'s Book Club, which is our children's writing book club for kids ages 5 through 18. So stay tuned to the end and I'll give you more information on that. So you guys, I have with us tonight, Miss Kim Lingley. Accidentally began writing in 2004. How do you accidentally begin writing, right? With her writing, she shares her faith, nature, love of rescue animals, and living with PTSD. She has been featured as a co-author in 7 anthologies, is the lead author and coordinator of a collaborative 3-book faith-based series titled When Grace Found Me. The host of the podcast, Let Fear Bounce, and host of The Right Stuff, the Author's Voice TV show. You can regularly find Kim taking walks with her rescue dog, Dexter, reading, drinking coffee, and jotting down story ideas about her realm. She is also 20-plus year advocate of veterans who live with PTSD. You can learn more by visiting her website, kindlingauthor.com, and her website is also in the caption of this video. So, you guys, let's give Kim a round of applause. Welcome, Kim.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much for wanting to hang out with me. Listen, I'm so excited to start season 3 of the Get Your Right On podcast. This has been an amazing journey, and I love meeting new authors, love hearing about, why they wrote their book, their passions. And the lessons learned in publishing are always so funny because it's always cute. If I had learned that in hindsight, I would have did something else different. There's just so much information out there. So I love it. I love it. So tell us, what is your passion behind your writing? Why did you really start writing accidentally in 2004? I love it.
But, I had never considered writing before that time. And I had just given a speech for a very large veteran event. And I was sharing a very personal story about my grandfather, who was the last surviving World War I veteran in my area. And he was 102 years old at the time. And I was sharing his story of, his time serving during World War I. And there was over 800 veterans in attendance. I had never given a speech. I had never spoken in public before. And I had radio people there and television cameras in my face. And the organizers didn't tell me that any of that would be there. Probably a good thing. I just got up and went, oh my goodness, there's a lot of people here. And so, but I had spent hours and practiced on this speech. And it was a 20-minute speech. And 20 minutes is a long time to talk. Mm-hmm. It truly is. Yes. And so when every eye is on you, mm-hmm. So I did my thing and I just fell into the story. And that's how I always say, I fell into the story. It was very emotional. You could hear a pin drop. There were so many people there and you could hear a pin drop. And when I finished, total silence. And I thought in my head, they hated me. Oh my gosh. Silence. And you know how even 3 seconds feels like it drags?
It feels like eternity.
Yes. So I'm just standing there and I have tears coming down my face because the story was so emotional. And then I realized, oh, they're crying too. And then one person started clapping, then the next one. And then there's this roar. And then I just started sobbing. I'm going, great, that's on television. So the newspaper editor that was there came up to me afterwards and said, have you ever considered doing, a column for the newspaper? And I went, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. And he goes, well, who wrote your speech? And I said, well, I did. And he goes, you're a writer. If you wrote that speech, and you just had 800 people in tears, you are a writer.
Wow.
So think about it. And I went, okay. And he goes, all right, how long do you need to think about it? I went, no, okay, I'll do it. So that's why I call it accidental. Of course, there are no accidents.
Of course.
That all happened the way it was supposed to. And so I still do those monthly columns all these years later.
Wow.
And yeah. And I, it's a voluntary thing, and it's all about veterans. And what started out as writing about veteran issues, like what they go through, what they went through when they come home, how to get their claims and all of that, it morphed into interviews of veterans and their time in combat.
Oh,
and my heart just went that way. I'm really empathetic,
wow.
highly sensitive person. And it's like you can feel their energy and their emotions. And a lot of times you feel it before they even say anything. And so I started just tossing out very gentle questions to these gentlemen. A lot of them were World War II veterans. And a few of them had never spoken about their time ever.
Wow.
And I was blessed that just as people were reading, I started getting a following, and I would get phone calls and emails, and they're saying, hey, could you maybe talk to my grandpa? He's never shared anything, even with my grandma. Maybe he'll share with you. And I was so blessed by every single one. And several of them were former prisoners of war and from the Korean War, as well as World War II. And those stories, and bless them. They've all since passed on. But oh my goodness, those stories will always stay with me. And that's how I started my writing journey, just listening to these amazing men and women that had served our country and giving them the honor that I feel that they deserve, and giving them respect, and trying to get that piece of history, because we're losing them so quickly. And everybody's a book. Everybody has an amazing story in them. And that's where my passion comes from. Everyone has an amazing story. It might be a traumatic story, and it might be a really bumpy road. I know mine is. But then there's always, you continue down that road, and you're learning things, and you're growing, and you're becoming better. And, you're finding joy again, or maybe you're finding yourself again.
Yes.
And maybe you start getting nudges, and maybe you find your faith again. You find those things that you thought were lost, and they start coming back to you. And it's just, it's all part of the journey. And I love to be able to talk to people and pull those beautiful stories out, because there's someone in the world who needs to hear them or to read them. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. I want to say thank you. As an Army brat, both of my parents served. My mother did 4 years, and my father did 20 plus years. And so, that military life and family is dear to my heart, because that's all I've known as a little girl. And so, I having to live it, live with parents, and, my father was always gone, and I would cry and be like, I don't understand why you have to leave me,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for giving our veterans a voice when many have overlooked them. Many of them have, forgotten. And unfortunately, some don't care, so I thank you for giving them that voice and making them comfortable to share their experience and their story, and how they have fought and serve for our freedom, because we know our freedom is not free. So I just want to take a second to salute all of our armed forces, active and retired. I salute you for the service that you have done, and for the sacrifices you have made for our country so that we can have the freedoms that we have. I want to say thank you so much for putting your life on the line so that I could have the option to do what I'm doing right now. So I want to say thank you, and just in honor and memory of all of those who have lost their life due to combat or from complications. I thank you so much. Blessings to your family and prayers of comfort indeed. So I just wasn't expecting that. Oh my gosh, that's just amazing. It just makes me feel good all over.
That's near and dear to my heart because I'm a veteran as well. And that's why it felt right. And you know when something feels right when you're sitting in front of someone,
Yes, you do.
and I'm thinking, oh, I'm supposed to do this.
Yes,
Okay.
you do.
And you get that little nudge. I always say it comes from behind, that little nudge, like, Kim, daughter, you're supposed to be doing this.
Yes, my father works at the VA and he helps them file their claims. So he's in that field doing what he loves, help
Yeah.
making sure veterans get their benefits, the maximum benefits that they are already earned.
Right.
So what branch and how many years?
I was in the Air Force and 4 years. Yes.
Yes, thank you for
I
your
did. I was in military intelligence. I did Morse code,
oh my
and
gosh.
they don't even use it anymore.
Isn't that
I
something?
thought, I run into younger kids because I co-founded a nonprofit where we send for 21 years now. Every month we send care packages to several hundred, deployed men and women, and we've been doing this. This is our 21st year this year, starting every month.
Awesome.
And so been doing that for, forever. And we will meet some of the young ones when they're young to me, and they'll come home and, sometimes they swing by our town and want to thank us in person. And they'll be like, oh, what'd you do? And I'll say, Morse code. And they're like, oh, they don't use that anymore. And I'm thinking, well, so nice to meet you,
Right.
youngin. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am getting old.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is so funny. That is so
Yeah. That's I'm like, well, bless you. Nice meeting you, you little monkey. Because they get all red in the face, Well,
I
oh,
know.
ma'am, they don't
They
even.
don't
And
know
I'm
what
like,
to say.
yeah,
They weren't expecting that response.
no, no, no. But I like to throw them off. Yeah, I got to keep these young kids on their toes. I tell you.
Yes, exactly. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can hear and see the passion in your voice and see it in your face that this is truly something you love. So again, I just want to say thank you for not forgetting our men and women. I thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now, as we shift gears to our publishing, what is one lesson that you wish somebody would have told you, or a piece of advice you wish somebody would have told you before you started? And I know there's many.
Don't take feedback or something from an editor or anything like that. Don't take it personally.
There you go.
You have to have a thick skin,
Yes.
and you have to be willing to take constructive criticism and take it as a lesson, because every day you have the opportunity to learn to become an even better writer.
Yes, I
So
love it.
that's part of it. And the other part of it is listen to your own self. I use the five senses, all five senses when I write. And I tell people that all the time. You
Hmm.
know, when you're sitting down to describe something, I want to fall into your story.
Yes.
I
Feel
want
it.
time to go away. I
Mhm.
want to magically fall into your story. Because when I fall into someone's story and then I'm done and you look up and you're going, oh, I'm home. I'm here. And I just think, oh, who is that author? I have to start reading everything they've ever written. And am I that good? No, but I want to get better every day. And so, I use my senses.
Exactly.
If I get feedback from people saying you brought me to tears or you had me laughing so
Mhm.
hard, I almost peed myself. I consider that the highest of praise because I'm like, all
Yes.
right, so for that
Yes.
short story, I did something right. You know?
I love it. Yes. And and as I have the privilege of talking to a lot of aspiring authors, which is 90% of our target audience for my publishing company, a lot of them are very sensitive, to their, and I get it, to their writing, and I tell them two things. One, read what the editor has said. Right? You don't have to necessarily accept it, but when it comes to grammar and spelling, it's a done deal. But if you feel your voice was changed or your point isn't made because of a correction, then just change it back. It's not the end of the world, right? And take it as a growth. As the old folks say, you chew the meat and throw the bones away.
Right. And someone told me, and I can't remember who it was, but when I'm working on collaborative book projects, so I'm, the lead person. So all the stories are coming to me. I read them all through. And then you're like, some folks, they've never written before,
No.
but they have a great story.
Right.
And so you gently take them through that process.
Yes, you do.
And you do have to be very gentle about it because it's so tight to them. And I keep saying, so this is something that I shared with a lot of the authors, and there's about 60 of them in the last 12 months that I've dealt with and worked, and they're beautiful people, absolutely beautiful people. But I would always say, it's your story, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it does need to get out there. But this is what you're doing. You're writing it and you're giving it as a gift to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only yours anymore.
That's right.
So you have to let go.
Let go.
You got to let go, let God, and let the editor.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I do, because I think sometimes we get comfortable in our common language that we forget people don't want to read common.
Right.
People want to read adjectives. People want to read personification. People want to read something that makes them feel emotion, whether it's good emotion, bad emotion. They want to feel that,
They don't want to just read, I went here, I did that.
No, describe it. Don't tell me, describe it.
Right. That's what I would say.
Down the stairs is a whole lot better than she fell down the stairs.
Right.
If she somersaulted, I can see that picture in my head. It's like,
and I'd be like, well, what did it sound like when she was falling down the stairs?
Yes, exactly.
Was she grunting? Making noises as she hit the steps? Was she in a back stairwell so it echoed? That's what I want to know.
There's so many elements, and I think sometimes, and it's just a lack of knowledge.
Yes.
Really a lack of knowledge. And so, but they're so excited. And so sometimes, like you said, you do have to gently say, I love your story and we're enhancing it. I've learned to use that word, enhance.
And that's an awesome word.
Offensive.
I'm writing that down.
Enhance, yes. We are enhancing the quality of your story to make it more readable.
More readable. Yes.
Yeah.
And what I found, and it's just interesting because I found myself saying a lot. You don't need to use the word that so many times, and you don't need to use so many words that end in ly. You just don't need them.
Nope.
Sometimes simple is better.
Simple is because, and I'm saying, if I see another another because. It's like,
when I started writing in 2004, I'm just writing my stuff. I'm just writing it from the heart, and I'm sending it to the newspaper. They did the edits, and a lot of times I would read it. They would edit it and then publish it. So I would read it in the newspaper the following week, and I'd be like, well, that's not how I wrote it. But then I started paying much closer attention to what they did, and I went, oh. Yes. Now I see. And honestly, that's how I learned a lot, was by reading my own stuff that had been edited by the newspaper. And I've got every single one of them. And I would read, and I learned that way. I'm kind of self-taught. I learned that way, and then finding others that could mentor me, and now these years later, I'm still learning something new every single day.
Still learning. You said something that was so key, and I think a lot of new writers don't understand reading is key. You
Oh
have
my goodness.
to read in order to be a better writer, because reading helps increase your vocabulary. It helps to increase, the process, because you're reading something and it's like, oh, so the sentence structure should be like this. Oh, they use this word instead of this common word. A thesaurus is your friend.
Oh, I love my thesaurus. I named him Ted. Ted is my friend.
Listen, I'm telling you. And I think a lot of times aspiring authors are so passionate about their story, and their story is good, but it's so common when you think about the lexile of their writing. It's so just everyday, and it's not going to grab the attention of anybody,
Right.
and so I love it, to gently take them on this journey, and to say, hey, as I've been trying to encourage, if you want to write better, read more.
I read an average of 2 books a week. I'm an avid reader. I read and sometimes, it's fun stuff, or sometimes it's business stuff, or sometimes
Right.
like I'm currently reading one. It's called Enlightened Dog Training. Become the peaceful alpha that your dog needs. Because I want to learn. I want to learn, how to interact with my dog more too when I'm, training. Because training with a dog is, to me, it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
But I have a rescue dog, and I don't know his background. So he has a few quirks that I want to learn or try and find
Right.
why he might be doing something. And he's not a bad dog, nothing like that or crazy or anything, but there's just a couple little quirks. And I've often wondered, why does he do that?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to teach myself by reading, dog books. So I read anything. I love reading. I'll read all
Exactly.
kinds of stuff.
I encourage them to read the genre that they want to write in. I think sometimes we automatically assume, especially if it's something like inspirational or religion, oh, I already know that. No, you need to read some books, because, like I tell people, the rules change when you cross genres. Everything's not the same.
Yeah.
The rules for nonfiction are not the same as fiction. The
Nope.
rules for self-help and religion and business books, they're not the same. They're not, interchangeable. So you have to read those books to kind of see, because when you read them, you see, oh, the formatting is different, the font is different, the page numbering is different, the covers are different. There's so many different elements that I think aspiring authors are missing, because, again, it's lack of knowledge, and then they're not taking the time to invest.
Well, that's, you bring up a good point, because especially within Christians, there's so many different types of books that are
Yeah.
Christian,
Mhm.
fiction and nonfiction, and then you have devotionals. And
Yes.
you can't just say, I think I'm going to write a devotional book. Okay, do you know how it's not super easy to even write one devotion and keep it super concise to what you need to do? And you have to pack a lot into 500 or less words,
Right.
with your scripture and your story, and keep it tight and concise, but also pull me in so I want to read it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's, there is a lot to it. And I like reading all the different I'll have, books of devotionals and then other types of books, because I'll be like, oh, I see what they're doing there.
Me too. I mean, I can't tell you the number of devotional books I have bought just because I'm looking at the layout. I'm looking at, okay, how big is it? You know what I'm saying? Oh, it
Yes.
took all of that. Oh, okay, I get it now. And it helps me. It
Yes.
helps me when I'm coaching clients. It helps me in my own work. And so I'm always buying new books, and I have a different outlook now versus when I wasn't doing this and I was just reading. Now it's like I'm looking at the pages, I'm looking at the designs, I'm looking at the font, I'm looking at everything and dissecting.
Looking at the margins.
Yes, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let's see if I can duplicate that.
I
Put
know.
my spin on it. Yes, I'm telling you. And so there's so much in it, that I think, aspiring authors have to understand that, like you said, it's just not that simple. It's just not sitting down and say, oh, I'm gonna do this.
Right.
If you don't know the genre that you're writing in, you might want to wait before you actually start writing in that genre.
Yes. Read a lot of it. And, there's so much stuff out there that you don't have to pay for, where you can learn. There's YouTube and books and podcasts and all kinds of stuff that you can, to get if you're just starting out and you really don't have a clue, like I didn't, back in 2004, I just started writing and I wrote from the heart, and some people are more natural at it than others.
Absolutely.
That's just, I was blessed to have a little bit of natural ability. It was just, I was gifted that, so, which I'm very appreciative of. But there's so many different ways to look at what you're reading and then what you actually want to write. I mean, if you say you're doing poetry, there's so many different types of poetry and how to lay it out
Yes.
and how to work. I mean, you know what I do for fun? I write haikus for fun.
Ooh, I remember that from English class.
575. And you have to make that 5-syllable, 7-syllable, five-syllable, make that a story. So I'll give myself a word, or I'll pick a word and then I'll be like, write a haiku about it. If that doesn't teach you how to tighten up your writing, there's a little tip for you.
Yes.
I gave a class on that. I have a little class on writing haikus and how it helps you think much deeper into what you're writing about and why you're using the words that you're using. And I presented it to, is actually from a group of 20 ladies from England, the United Kingdom. And it was fun because they have British English, of course.
Yes.
You know, and we have American English. But they you know, first they got a kick out of how I spelled stuff, because I had like video and then I had, you know, PowerPoint stuff. So they were teasing me about spelling behavior wrong. You know, they put OU on everything.
Right.
But it was fun, and it was really, really, really well received, because it's worked so well for me. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to turn this into a little class. And so, and it was fun. But that's, you know, try that. Write a haiku. You have no idea how you have to keep things tight and concise, because you're not working by words, you're working by syllables.
Yeah, I remember doing that in high school, and I was just like, it was the hardest thing ever.
See, I love it. I can come up with stuff. I love doing that, and it gives me ideas to go a different direction too a lot of times. And I'm thinking, I'm going to write a book of haikus. Why not? I have a whole bunch of them.
That is definitely not my calling. So we're going to, I see there's a question that we have from one of our live viewers. And
Okay.
she says, is there really a style for writing? Toni Morrison was one writer who did what she felt in her writings. And so I personally don't think there is a universal style per se. I think you have the freedom to write, you know, the way that you want to write, just as long as your grammar is correct. Because I get to see a number of different styles, and I don't think I've seen any two styles the same.
Right.
But they've had different impacts, right? So I think as a writer, you have that freedom in your creativity in the style that you want, especially now. I mean, there's nothing that says if it's not written like this, it's not going to get published.
Right.
You're talking about 1.7 million self-published books in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think there is a style. What is your opinion on that?
You know, me, like I said a few times, I write from the heart. So I write what I'm feeling and do my best to write it so the reader can feel it as well. So it's my own personal way. And I've got a dear friend. She's a really good writer, but she's a matter of fact writer. That's what I call her. She's very black and white. She's a good writer. It's just a completely different style than mine. She's much more black and white, much more in the tunnel. And I'm out here where all the colors are. So I bring those colors into my stories and in my writing. So I don't think that there's any one. I mean, look at Stephen King. You know, how he writes. There's no comparison to, you know, how I write and how he writes. I think it's a personal thing. It's just how the gift that you were given and the way it was given to you and how your brain works and how you see the world.
Yeah, even when you think about children's books, I mean, Dr. Seuss is totally different from any other children's book. Nope. And you know, I love Dr. Seuss books.
Oh, he was brilliant. That was just brilliant.
And you know, his style was very unique, and I think maybe even coined. And I know that some of it's rhyming, and people have written rhyming books, but nothing has been, in my opinion, even reached, you know, to where he was.
Right. Right.
So I think your style is unique to your personality.
Yes. And how you, yeah, a lot of it. And how, you know, what your likes and how you were raised, what your life has been like has shaped how you think and see the world. And when you're writing, you're just sharing your part of the world. So of course that's, it's your life story. No matter what type of stuff you're writing, I think you're putting yourself into it, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
Absolutely. I love
Pieces
it.
of you are going into it.
Yes. And so I want to say that to all of you aspiring authors who are listening to this podcast. When you are writing your story, do not try to imitate anybody else. Be authentic in your writing. People are going to feel your authenticity. They're going to feel your transparency. They're going to know whether or not you're being honest or if you're trying to duplicate another style per se of another writer. You are uniquely made. And the way you write it is the way you write it. We just going to make sure that it's edited properly and it's enhanced so that your reader is happy.
It's enhanced.
It is enhanced. I love. So Kim, tell us how we can get your books, how we can follow you. Talk about your TV show.
Okay. Yeah, that's brand new. My TV show is brand spanking new. It's called The Right Stuff, WRITE, The Right Stuff, the author's voice. And it's soon to be launched. Actually, it's technically launched and it's going to be on up to 11 different platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire, Samsung, Sony, Google Plus, all of those online, on your TV, phone, iPad, whatever. It's pretty exciting stuff. Actually, I'm a little nervous too because it hasn't went out. It's going to be in over like 197 countries or 100. It's just crazy the range it will have, and it's been a really fun journey, and I'm looking forward to it actually, getting out into the world. But that's something that's just now happening. And I have authors on just like you. We were talking off mic. I have authors on and we talk about their journey, their writing journey, their quirks. How do they come up with their characters and things like that, So, and it's just been so fun. It's been so fun to have that show. But that and my books, and I like to dabble in journals. I found this past summer, I was just piddling around and I'm going, well, I need something to keep track. And I'm like, oh, for my diabetes. I was diagnosed with this rare form of diabetes, and I was like, oh, yay me. So I didn't know I had nothing to keep track of anything. So I made a planner. I made a diabetes tracker specifically for me. And I'm going, oh, well, that was easy. That was fun. So I make journals as well. But you can find all of that on my website, which is simply my name, Kim Lengling, Lengling, author.com. So that's it. You can find it all there. My books, my journals, my podcast, which is Let Fear Bounce, and my television show. And there's a blog on there, all kinds of stuff.
Awesome. So we want to close. What is one piece of advice that you would give to an aspiring author out there who's just struggling to get started, or maybe they're stuck, or maybe they're even afraid to think that their writing is actually something that people want to read?
Don't let. Okay, this is what I say. I'm a Christian, and so I call the devil the D-man. Do not let the D-man perch on your shoulder saying to you, who's going to want to read your stuff? Who do you think you are? You think you can write? You think you're a writer? You're going to call yourself a writer? Who do you think? Don't let him perch on your shoulder, because he's jumped on mine a few times and I literally have to physically say, not today, and flick him off. Don't let self-doubt and self-doubt, self-worth, all of that. And no matter what type of stuff that you write, whether it's Dr. Seuss type things or it's nonfiction, business book, whatever, keep those that support you within your circle. Because the ones that you think should support you may not. They may not understand the journey that you're on. So make sure you've got the right folks in your circle. You've got the right tribe to inspire, encourage, and lift you up when you have those days when the demand's on your shoulder.
I love it. I love it. Kim, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me on the Get Your Right On podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure to interview you and to learn more about you. And again, I want to say thank you for giving our veterans a voice and writing about their stories. And thank you for your service.
Oh, you are welcome. This was an absolute blast. I love doing this stuff. This was so fun.
Yes, you guys. So we appreciate everyone who has been hanging out with us live. And for those of you who are listening to this on the podcast platform, I thank you so much. I have one announcement for you, and then we're going to close it out. So we have our Perry Juniors Book Club, which is for our children ages 5 through 18. And I am absolutely excited to bring this back for another summer. It is going to be absolutely amazing. It is a 5-week e-course that your child who loves to write, they're creative, they have an imagination, they want to be able to write a book. So they will be able to write a children's picture book. It is a 10-page children's picture book. They get 5 illustrations, 5 pages of writing. They get 10 free books to go along with this after they go through the course. They will be able to sell this book to their family and friends. So not only do they become an author, but now they get to have their own money and they started their own business. See how that is? It is a win-win-win situation. So I invite you, if you have a junior writer that is creative, that likes to write, to go ahead and enroll them into Perry's Junior Book Club Summer 2022. The total investment is $497. You can register them today with $100 due down, and then the balance has to be paid by May 30th, 2022. So I hope to see you, your junior writer, in this summer camp as well. And Perry hopes to see you as well. And so we are excited to bring this back. We had so much fun. If you stay tuned, next month, we're going to do a special virtual book fair for our writers from last summer so that you can see the books that they created. That was absolutely amazing. We had so much fun, and I had so much fun with each one of those kids. So listen, you guys, if you have a junior writer and they have an imagination and they love to write, this is the solution for them to get all that creativity out, and then they get to make money on the side. So they will have access to the club starting on Saturday, June 4th. All right, you guys, this is Shantae Williams with Relentless Publishing House. As we say, it is never too late to get your right on. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Get Your Right On podcast. Make sure to visit our website at www.relentlesspublishing.com. You can subscribe to our monthly mailing list, check out our publishing packages, and pick up our Aspiring Author Kit, which helps you get the book out of your head and into your hand. Don't forget to tell an aspiring author about our show and kindly leave us a review. Until next time, remember, it's never too late to get your right on.